And that is this verse Sri Vishwanath has offered as the pramanam for why the Lord put Daksha on the path of karma. Even after giving him his darshan, which is a very special, attainment, still he put Daksha on the path of karma. And that was due to his aparad to Shiva in the previous Manvantara period. So we discussed this yesterday. The influence of aparad is long-standing. So here the Shiva Vishwanath takes his Vishnu Maya Upabrimhita as the pramana. He's got empowerment from the Lord, but what type of empowerment? Vishnu Maya, not a spiritual empowerment. Of course, Vishnu Maya could also refer to Krishna spiritual Shakti, but here it means the Maya Shakti. Okay, next verse. So my dear king, all the sons of Prajapati Daksha were alike in being very gentle and obedient to the orders of their father. When their father ordered them to be good children, they all went in the western direction. Next verse. In the west, where the river Sindhu meets the sea, there's a great place of pilgrimage known as Narayana Saras. Many sages and other advanced in spiritual consciousness lived there. In that holy place, the Haryashvas began regularly touching the lake's waters and bathing in them. Gradually becoming very much purified, they became inclined towards the activities of Paramahamsas. So this is Dharme Paramahamsye Cha Prapano Matayopyuta. So the Paramahamsa Dharma. Paramahamsa Dharma means renunciation, generally. Prapana Mataya. Prapana Mataya means their minds were highly inclined. Api Uta, although their minds were highly inclined towards this Paramahamsa Dharma, they were here to perform austerities to satisfy their father's order to beget progeny. But it seems here from the influence of the holy place, they became inclined towards renunciation. But they wanted to honor their father's request. So this is an important point. I mean, there's no commentary here from Prabhupada or other acharyas, but I just found it to be important because I think it plays a part in how Narada Muni preaches to them. So he's going to preach to them to become renounced. But here this verse is informing us their minds were already inclined in that way. So that makes a point, that makes a difference for how Narada is going to preach to them. It's not that you preach to everyone in the same exact way. You have to see. And this is another reason why, it should be personal. In the Bhagavatam, you also see the standard is mostly like this, that the teaching is often one-to-one, often. Now here Narada Muni is speaking to Haryashvas is 10,000. Later on, the 1,000 sons that follow after. Also, Rishabdev preaches to his 100 sons. But basically, there's still that relationship is there. But generally, you'll see it as a one-to-one because to instruct someone can't be uniformed. You can give principles in a uniform way, but when it comes to giving the specific instructions to individuals, it cannot be uniform. It needs to be. So I don't know if Narada Muni would have preached to them to do renounced dharma if they weren't already attracted in that way. That's what I'm trying to say here. So this point is just noted. And I also think it's interesting that the Numen, this word Numen, the word Numen means like the spiritual quality of an object or a place. Certain objects are said to have Numen in them. So that means like a spiritual quality to them. So if you associate with them, they influence the psyche, the spirit and all that. They call this Numen. So you get words in English like numinous and any different words are there. So holy places have a Numen in them. So if you're in those places, your mind will be influenced by the Numen of the place. This is one reason why we get instructions like Brajvas, live in Vrindavan. Why? Because Vrindavan is the Numen in Vrindavan. Just by being in the place, your mind will become inclined towards Krishna Bhakti. So the same is here, just because by the influence of the Numen of the place, they became inclined towards Paramahamsa Dharma. So that's another just interesting thing that they're out there. No commentary here, but I was, why Narada preached to them the way that he did. So this might be some indication here. So next verse, they said, nevertheless, because their father had ordered them. So although they were attracted to Paramahamsa Dharma, still their father ordered them in this way, they're honoring them. We're still reading 4 or 5. Nevertheless, because their father had ordered them to increase the population, they performed severe austerities to fulfill his desires. One day, when the great sage Narada saw those boys performing such fine austerities to increase the population, Narada approached them. So what he says here, so 3 verses, Narada Muni gives a riddle. And from this riddle, they will become renounced. They say, okay, we'll follow this path. So here's the riddle. The great sage Narada said, my dear Haryashvas, you have not seen the extremities of the earth. This is the first part of the riddle. The riddle has 10 parts to it. So you're going to want to note this. So first part here, he is saying, Adrishtvantam bhuvo. Adrishtvantam bhuvaha. You have not seen the ends of the earth. Okay, so you can try to think, what is this? Try to decipher it. You'll never get it, but if you want to have fun, you can try to decipher the riddle yourself. Adrishtvantam bhuvaha. This is the first part of the riddle. You have not seen the ends of the earth. Okay, there is a kingdom where only one man lives. This is the second part of the riddle. Tataika purusham rashtram. Eka purusham rashtram. There is one rashtram, one kingdom, where there is only one purusha, eka purusha. Okay. Balam chadrishta nirgamam. This is translated here as there is a hole from which, having entered, no one emerges. This is the third part of the riddle. Bilam chadrishta nigama. A hole which, having entered, no one returns. The third part of the riddle. Okay, fourth part of the riddle. A woman there who is extremely unchaste adorns herself with various attractive dresses. So the fourth part of her, Bahu Rupam Striyam Chapi. There is a woman who takes on many forms. Bahu Rupam. Bahu Rupam Striyam. There is one woman who is taking on many forms. This is the fourth part of the riddle. Fifth part of the riddle. And the man who lives there is her husband. So this is the fifth part of the riddle. Pungsam Pungshtalipatam. A man, Pumangsam, a man who is the husband of the prostitute. Punshtali. This is 2022, so immediately everyone will get offended. But you'll see why this analogy is told here, this riddle. Pumangsam Pungshtalipatam. There's a man who is the husband of the prostitute. So who is this woman who is taking on many forms in the previous verse? So this is the fifth part of the riddle. Okay, sixth part of the riddle. In that kingdom, there's a river flowing in both directions. Nadhyam Ubhayato Bhaham. One river there is flowing in 2 directions. Is that a fifth part or the sixth part? I don't remember. Did I say fifth or sixth? 6? Oh no, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the sixth part, right? 6th, 7th part of the riddle, a wonderful home made of 25 materials. Pancha adbhutam griham. So there is one griham, one house or home, that is pancha adbhutam. It is an astonishing home of 25 elements. So what is this adbhutam? Adbhutam means like astonishing. There is a home, and it's astonishing home made of 25 elements. Okay, that was the 7th one. 8th one, a swan that vibrates various sounds. Pachit hangsa chitrakatam. Chitrakatam. Chitra means, attractive. He's doing the chitrakata. The swan is there who's doing the chitrakata. So this is the 8th one. And then the 9th one. An automatically revolving object made of sharp razors and thunderbolts. Kshora pavyam swayam prami. So there is some object that is rotating very rapidly and it's having sharp edges and rotating very fast. This is 9th element of the riddle. So you have not seen all of this, he's telling the boys, and therefore you are inexperienced boys without advanced knowledge. How then will you create prajna? So he's saying here, Balisha Bhatta Palaka. This is in the first part of the verse. So he says, you're all, Balisha means like childish, like children. Bhatta Palaka, although you are the protectors of the, humanity, because Palaka means a protector of the kingdom, basically. But you are like children. So how you will give proper protection if you don't know this thing? So that would be very much of an affront, You're doing this deep austerity. So how you will do anything? You're just like a child. You don't know this riddle. If you don't know the elements that this riddle is indicating, how you will do. Next verse. So the next verse is having a 10th element. Alas, your father is omniscient, but you do not know his actual order. Without knowing the actual purpose of your father, how will you create progeny? So he says here, Katam aho sargam karishtita. How will you, do the creation work? If you do not know avidhamso, you are ignorant of your father's order. Swapitur adhesham. So this is the 10th element of the riddle, the ignorance of the father's order. Who is vipashtita? So the father is vipashtita, which Prabhupada translated here as one who knows everything or omniscient. So this is in Daksha, because the Daksha is not vipashtita here. So anurupam abhigaya. If you do not know what is the appropriate instruction for you, then and thereby following your father's real order, then how you will do this work of creation. Aho sargam kadishita. So now the next set of verses from verse 10 to I guess 19 or 20 is the riddle being deciphered by the Haryashvas. Okay. So Shukadeva Goswami says here, Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, hearing these enigmatic words of Narada Muni, the Haryashvas considered them with their natural intelligence without help from others. So if Narada Muni gave us riddle like this, and we're depending on our natural intelligence, we may have a little bit of difficulty. We need things to be spelled out. So Srimad Bhagavatam spells it out for us. Since our natural intelligence may not have access to the mystery of the riddle. Okay, so the first part of the riddle was what? You have not seen the ends of the earth, right? Adrishtantam bhuvaha. So what is the earth here? What does it mean you've not seen the ends of it? So this is verse 11. Bhuk kshetram jiva samgyam yad anadi nijabhandanam adrishtva tasya nirbhanam kim asat kamabhir bhavet. So this line, note this line, kim asat kamabhir bhavet. The next 10 verses all end with this line. Kim asat kamabhir bhavet. What is the use of asat karma? So asat karma. This asat, this word asat. So asat karma. What is the use of this asat karma? And there's an instruction that comes often in Bhakti literatures that we should give up asat cheshta, the asat activities. So basically for Gaudiya Bhakti especially, asat activities means any activity that doesn't lead to or support the attainment of Bhav Bhakti, Krishna Prema. That's called asat karma. So what is the use of this asat karma? I did an art project 3 years ago, 100-day. I hadn't drawn for like years. So I did an art project trying to turn abstract philosophical points into images. It was a very fun project. And I did this whole section of the Bhagavatam because I thought it was very interesting. So that time we were using the word vanity karma. What is the use of this vanity karma? Because Jaya Maharaj, he has one book called Vanity Karma. So he explains in the introduction of the book that the word vanity, we're used to the word vanity meaning like an arrogant person who's like into their beauty and so on. But he says also the word vanity comes from a word which means vapor. You know what is the vapor? So you try to touch, it looks like something is there, but if you try to grab it, it's nothing. So he said it's like vapor. So vanity karma means the activity we're doing is like vapor. Looks like a lot is going on, but it is completely insubstantial. There's no substance in it. So just like, for example, social media, people are speaking, be the best version of yourself, but there's no substance in that. They're just looking for the likes and the reshares so they can make the money. Because if you have a certain amount of followers, you can make money off of each post that you share. So they're interested in the money part. Like not maybe not everyone. That would be a little bit harsh, but a vast majority because it's the culture is like this. During the Black Lives Matter protests 2020, so everyone was sharing black squares and Black Lives Matter, all these things. So there was one girl, someone caught one woman at a protest. She had on this beautiful dress and it was like flowing in the wind and everything. And she had a sign that said Black Lives Matter. But you can see she was trying to find like the perfect pose for the picture for her beautiful dress. So someone caught it on the picture, caught a picture of her doing this. And they said, is this Coachella or a protest? So Coachella is like something that the elites do for the sense gratification. So they were like, is this Coachella or a protest? She came, she was like decked out, hair done out, her face was beat with the makeup perfectly. And, she was trying to find a perfect picture where the wind was blowing perfect. Okay, now take it, now take it. She's like, this is Coachella. It's called vanity karma. Looks like you're doing something meaningful, like a protest for, transgression of human rights. But actually, you're wanting the proper picture so you can show that you're a good person and get the likes and all this. So your karma is vanity karma. It is insubstantial. Looks like you're doing something, but there's no substance in it. It's called a sat karma. So like this, most of the mature world is going on, especially from the perspective of Vedanta. People are doing so much activity they're doing, but what is the use of that activity? It is a sat karma. There's no substance in it. It only leads to the perpetuation of the misery, which people want to be free from. So this line is an important line. Kema sat karma bir. What is the use of vanity karma or this asat karma? So in this case, what is the use of this asat karma? Bhu kshetram jiva sangyaya. So bhu, he says you have not seen the end of the earth. So the word bhu here means kshetram. So kshetram is a word that refers to the field of activity. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there's kshetra and kshetragya, the field of activity and the knower of the field of activity. So the kshetra refers to the material body. Jiva sangyamya, which is the designation of the jiva. The kshetram, which designates the jiva. So this is a reference to the subtle body of the jiva. Because the true kshetra of the jiva is the subtle body. Because life after life is with that same subtle body of it, right? We'll give up this gross body, we'll take on another gross body, but it is a subtle body that is transferring us to the next gross body. So the kshetra here means a subtle body, which is the designation of the jiva while he's sojourning in the material world. This subtle body is anadi nijabandhanam. It is the cause of bondage from a beginningless time. Anadi nijabandhanam. So to get free from the material body is very easy. You just have to die. And then you're free from the material body. But to get free from the subtle body is near impossible. Without spiritual technique, you cannot become free from the material body. So the subtle body is called as ninja bandha. It is a cause of our bondage. Anadi, for a time without beginning. Adrishta tasya nirvana, from one who is not seeing the end of this body. Nirvana means the cessation or destruction of this subtle body by spiritual knowledge. Like I said, you cannot see the end of the subtle body without spiritual technique for transcending it, getting out of it. So for one who is not seeing the end of this body by spiritual technique, then what is the use of your asat karma? What is the use of your vanity karma? So the subtle body is itself the cause of the misery. Most people don't realize that. Just like on a more practical level, when there is some trouble in people's lives, let's say people who live largely comfortable lives, they have nice facility, but you see they also suffer so much. So you wonder why they are suffering so much, because they have minds. And as long as you have a mind, you get to suffer. You understand? That's how that works. I was in Chowpatty in 2000, this must have been 2006, December. No, this is at later time. And I was visiting one dear God brother there. So he was saying how so many devotees were leaving the ashram this time. So many. He's like, I don't understand why so many devotees are leaving the ashram. He is my senior, but we were very close friends. So he was like, we have everything here. We have very nice prasadam, nice preaching engagements. People honor us like anything here because Chowpatty, and which became so famous in ISKCON. And so he said, I don't understand why everyone is leaving. So I said, because they have minds. And then we quoted Bhagavad Gita, Mana Shashtan Indriyani Pakriti Stani Karshiti. Krishna says the jivas in this world are struggling with the mind and senses which are rooted in Prakriti. So as long as you have mind, then you get to suffer. As my mom used to say, creating a mountain out of a molehill, right? You're at the store, and in the store they put the candy bars very low. So the children, we are very small, we can see them, and then we demand, I want, candy bar. Then the mom says no, and you have temper tantrum, right? Of course, I never did it because my mom had a method for dealing with tantrums. But I see it all the time. You see the kids throw a tantrum. You call that making a mountain out of a molehill. That is a very small thing. No, you're not going to have the candy bar. It's a very small thing. But the child takes it very seriously because he has a mind. And the mind doesn't like to be told no or whatever. So this is just in our practical sense, how the mind is the cause of so much suffering. But in a universal sense, is because it is the cause of bondage to matter. It is like the glue that is binding the soul to matter, the subtle body. So if you have not seen the end of the subtle body, then what is the use of your asat karma? On the empirical level, you're not realizing your mind is the cause of so much of your life's problems. And on a universal level, you also don't realize it is the glue that is keeping you stuck in the place where you have to suffer. Dukalayama Shastrita. So you're sitting here doing all this activity, trying to complete this project and fulfill that desire and meet that plan, but you do not know this. So what is the use of your asat karma? It'll all be for naught because your mind will keep sabotaging, right? That's a very good point. So this is the first part of the riddle. For one who has not seen the end of the earth. So the earth here means the subtle body. If you have not seen the end of the subtle body through spiritual technique, then what is the use of your asat karma? You will have to continue on in the ocean of suffering. Okay, second riddle, part of the riddle. So there was a man who's living in the kingdom by himself. So who is this one Purusha, Eka Purusha, who is living in the Rashtra, in the kingdom? So this is answered here. Eka e Vaishuros Turiyo Bhagavan Swashraya Para. Tama Drishtva Puksa Kimmasat Kamabhirbavat. So there it is again, the Kimmasat part. Narada Muni said that there is a kingdom where there is only one male, Eka Purusha, one Purusha. The Haryashvas realized the purport of this statement as follows. The only Purusha, the only enjoyer, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who observes everything everywhere. He is full of 6 opulences and fully independent of everyone else. He is never subject to the 3 modes of nature, material nature, for he is always transcendental to this material creation. If the members of human society do not understand him, the Supreme, through their advancement in knowledge and activities, but simply work very hard like cats and dogs all day and night for temporary happiness. The Prabhupada is adding a lot in translation, try to spice it up a little bit. What will be the benefit of their karma? So here, the one Purusha, the Eka Purusha, is the Ishvara. He is the supreme controller. So the kingdom here is the material universe. And he is the Eka Purusha, the one Purusha living inside the material universe, who is Turiyo. Turiyaha means the 4th. So this word is used oftentimes to describe transcendence. Turiya or Turiya, the 4th, because you have the 3 gunas of nature, and that which is beyond the 3 gunas is called Turiya. Or you have the 3 states of wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep, and then you have Turiya, which is samadhi. So the word Turiya is used often in sacred literatures to refer to transcendence. So here's the kingdom is the material universe, and he is the one Purusha who is Turiya. He's in the 4th dimension, you can say. He's transcendental. He is Bhagavan Swashraya Para. He is Bhagavan who is his own shelter, Swashraya Para. Para means the transcendence or beyond material nature. The living entities in this world, they are not Swashraya, they are not their own shelters, right? We depend on so many things in this world, starting with our material bodies, If the soul didn't have a material body, he couldn't do anything in this world. You understand? Just like if you want to write, but you have no computer or no pen to write, then although you have ability to write, it doesn't have any, you need some help to write. You can't just write like that. You need a pen or you need some computer. So the soul needs a body, first of all. Then after the body itself is dependent on so many things. So we're not independent, although we be acting like it because of ahankara. Ahankara vimudatma kartamiti manyate. So we act like we don't need anyone. I don't need anyone, especially this Western culture, the direction it's moved is a lot of individualism is very strong. I don't need anyone, but that is all nonsense. We are sheltered in so many entities. But Bhagavan is Swashrayapa. He is his own shelter, he is transcendence. Tama drishta abhavan pungsa. If a pungsa, a man or a person, has not a drishta, he is not seeing that one person, that eka purusha. He does not see him. And which means he does not see through worship. Right? So it means he's not performing the worship of Bhagavan. So he doesn't see God. In other words, to be a soul in this world means to be endowed with, this is not the right word, to be afflicted with the disease called absence of awareness of God. That is our disease. Bhagavad Vaimukya, absence of awareness of the Lord. This is the disease of the soul. So adrishta, we're not seeing God. All we see is matter and we pursue it. So we're not seeing God. So to see means to see through worship and acknowledge that there is a God. So for one who is not seeing that God, who is abhavan. So the word abhavan means one who is not bhava, not like created. And Sri Vishnu's commentary says abhavan means the Lord for whom there will be no more creation for the devotees. In other words, one who can free them from the samsara by their worship. So if you're not seeing that Bhagavan through worship, through which you can become free from the samsara, then kama asakarma, what is the use of your asakarma? So his point here is to say you should see God through worship. That's what he's saying. Why you should worship? You should worship God. You sit over here about to have a lot of children, progeny, no, but you should worship Bhagavan. That's his point. So this is the second part of the riddle. The man in the kingdom, the one Purusha in the kingdom. So sometimes the jiva is also called as Purusha, right? In the Yoga Sutras or in the Bhagavad Gita also, he's called as Purusha. But that is more like satire, satirical. No, we are not really the Purusha. We just act like the Purusha. We have what's called as Purusha Abhiman. You know what is Purusha Abhiman? The self-notion, I'm the Purusha. The Abhiman means like ego, self-conceit. No, I am the Purusha. Actually, we are Pakriti only. We're Shakti, Jiva Shakti specifically. So we, in essence, we're like female or feminine. And there is only one Purusha, that is God, and everything else is Shakti. But we have all the Shaktis in this world, we have is Purusha Abhiman. So I'm the man. So the man, the Shakti in the man's body thinks like that, I'm the man. And the Shakti in the woman's body also thinks like that, I'm the man. Everyone thinks like that, I'm the Purusha, I'm the Purusha. That's called Purusha Abhimana. So sometimes the soul is called Purusha, but that is like a joke. Because he's not the man, in this sense, not the controller, not the true enjoyer. You cannot really be the true enjoyer if you're not the controller. If you want to enjoy, you have to control, isn't it? Suppose I want to enjoy the samosa. My samosa is there. I want to enjoy it. First, I have to gain control over it. I cannot enjoy it without getting control over it. So if you want to enjoy, you have to control first. But in order to control, you have to have some power, at least a little bit. When it comes to samosa, then you don't need a lot of power. Just a little power, some money. And if you don't have that, some hands so you can steal. A little power you have to require. If you want to control enjoyment on a big level, then you have to have a lot of control. So it means a lot of power is required. So God is actually the Purusha because he has no dependence on anyone for his enjoyment. He controls everything, so he can enjoy everything without dependence on others. But when we want to enjoy and control and get power, we depend on so many others. So we are not the Purusha. Only one Purusha is there. So this is this. If you don't know that Purusha, what is the use of your Satkarma? Okay, that's the second part of the riddle. Third part of the riddle. So you mentioned one hole, which having entered, you do not come out. Right? So what is this hole? Having entered, you do not come out. So it says, Narada Muni had described this. So here is this. Hardly once has a person who has entered the lower planetary system called Patala been seen to return. Puman navaiti yat gatva bhila swargam gatoyata. Bila swargam gatoyata. Just like when a person goes to Bila swargam. So we were talking about this yesterday. Bila swargam means the swarga in the hole. So normally when we say swarga, we think of the swarga that is above the Bhumanda, like the upper planetary systems. But there's a subterranean swarga loka also below the Bhumanda. And it's called Bila Swarga, or the Swarga in the hole. So those are the 7 lower planetary systems, as the language is used like this. That is different from hell. So many times we think that the 7 planetary system means hell. It is not hell, it is Bila Swarga. So when you hear the description of Bila Swarga, it's a place of enjoyment. It is said that the enjoyment is even superior to Swargalok. And the people who enjoy there, they're all asuras. They're asuras. They're like, demons, basically. They're not really into God. But they enjoy very nicely. And they're the competitors of the Devatas. They're the competitors of the Devatas. So this Bila Swarga is very nice. I always imagine Bila Swarga like New York City at night. Because New York City at night has a little charm to it. Yeah. During the day, it's hideous. Like the city is so hideous looking at the daytime. I'm just like, how can anyone live here? But in the nighttime, it has a charm to it. Like when everything's like lit up, and especially if there's good weather, then it has a certain charm to it that makes it very appealing and you want to enjoy it. So I always say Bila Swarga must be something like this. It is the Bila Swarga in the hole, so there is no sunlight there that reaches there. It says things are illumined by like jewels or different things, different forms of illumination are there. And the enjoyment there is very nice, apparently, superior to Swarga Loka also. So just as a person who goes to the Bila Swarga and he's enjoying so nicely there, he never leaves. You understand? He goes to the Bila Swarga, he doesn't come out. So it's a hole that he's entered without coming out of the hole. So similarly, if one enters the Vaikuntha Dham, Pratyag Dhama, the self-effulgent spiritual abode, he does not return to this material world. If there is such a place from which, having gone, one does not return to the miserable material condition of life, what is the use of jumping like monkeys? This is all Prabhupada's additions, spicing up. What is the use of jumping like monkeys in the temporary material world and not seeing or understanding that place? What will be the profit? So pratyag dharma avidha. If in this world you do not know, avidha means a person who is not enlightened, about the pratyag dharma. The pratyag dharma means the Vaikuntha planets, where the enjoyment is vastly superior to the Bila Swarga. That's what the point, because there's comparisons given to Bila Swarga here. So just as a person enters Bila Swarga and it's such an enjoyable place, he doesn't come out of the hole. So similarly, if you go to the spiritual world, the enjoyment is so amazing that you will never fall from that. Pratyag Dhamma. So if you do not know about such a place, and you're working hard in a place that is where misery is endemic to the atmosphere, Dukkalayam Shashvata. The whole atmosphere is itself Dukkalaya. It is Dukkalaya means a house of misery. Himalaya, house of snow. Hima is the snow. So this is Dukkalaya, the house of dukkha. Every room you will find dukkha is there. Master bedroom, dukkha. Bathroom, dukkha. Kitchen, dukkha. Everywhere, every room you go into, the dukkha is there. So this is endemic. And so you don't want the dukkha. You want the enjoyment. So you should go to this place. It is so enjoyable. Oh, you don't know about that place. So you're just working very hard in this place where suffering is your lot. Then then what is the use of your asat karma? If you don't know that there is such a place that you can attain also, what is the use? So his message is, therefore, you should try to go to Vaikuntha. You're looking to be happy without the misery, right? In the material world, there is some happiness, but it always has mixture with the misery. Like sweet rice mixed with the sand. Someone hands you sweet rice, very good. But if it has some sand particles in it, you will be disturbed, isn't it? Suddenly you're eating that, and that crunch sound comes. You're like, what is this? The sand is inside. You will not be happy. So here you're trying for happiness in the material world, but so much sand is there. The partner is not cooperating, arguments going on. The government, overreaching, doing some nonsense. There's some pandemic, some disease, this, that, and the other thing. Actually, it is mostly sand, no sweet rice. Especially in age of Kali, mostly sand. Where is the sweet rice also? So you're working so hard for this? That is not very intelligent. Suppose you work very hard. I treat you like a slave. You're working very hard. And from all your hard work, I say, here's your reward. Take rice with the sand in it. At this point, it's Kali Yuga. So mostly sand, but a little sweet rice is there. And you're working hard for that. Are you a very intelligent person? They're not very intelligent, working hard for getting the sweet rice with the sand in it. So he said, if you don't know about this place where it's sweet rice only, there is no sand, then you should work hard to get to that place. Oh, but you don't know about that place, so you'll work hard only for the sweet rice with the sand in it? Then what is the use of such work? What is the use of this? This is the third part of the riddle. Okay, fourth part. This is such nice section. Good verses. So Narada Muni spoke of a woman who takes on many forms or many dresses. Bahurupa. So the word rupa means form, or the word rupa can also mean beauty or dresses. So it takes on many dresses. The woman who's taking on the many dresses. So who is this woman? So mixed with the mode of passion, the unsteady intelligence of every living entity is like a prostitute who changes dresses just to attract one's attention. If one fully engages in temporary fruitive activities, not understanding how this is taking place, what does he actually gain? So Nana Rupatmano Buddhi, the woman who's taking on many dresses is the intelligence. So this intelligence, the Buddhi, is Nana Rupa, taking on the many dresses. This means the intelligence is not fixed. Like in Bhagavad Gita, when he's describing the intelligence of the karma yogi or the bhakta versus the intelligence of the materialistic person. So the intelligence of the yogi or the bhakta is vyavasayatmika buddhi eka gurunana, fixed on one point. Krishna for the bhakta. Whereas the materialist is bahu shaka hiyanantashta. His intelligence is many branched, right? Why is many branched? Hiyanantashta. Because so many desires are there. So you're using your intelligence how to fulfill all those desires. So your intelligence becomes many branched, splayed out. No potency. That's why when you try to explain, when you try to explain Bhagavad Gita to people, even Bhagavad Gita, a very simple thing, to people who are considered conventionally intelligent, they have a hard time understanding. I find it kind of fascinating, actually. Like talking to like PhDs, like people who are conventionally considered very intelligent, they have a hard time understanding the wisdom of like even the Gita. I'm like, how come it seems like it's so easy for devotees who are even uneducated and kind of simple-minded, they seem to get it. Whereas this guy is conventionally very intelligent, is having a hard time. Because of Bahu Shakta, even while they're hearing you speak to them, their intelligence is also thinking of 5 other things simultaneously. Because the desires are ananta, so many desires are there. So the intelligence is not having any potency, it's becoming impotent, not able to understand anything, even practical wisdom, not able to understand. Just like nowadays on the social media, people share so much practical wisdom. It's like this is good advice, actually. But no one can follow it because their intelligence is too splayed towards the other desires. So their intelligence doesn't have the shakti to even pursue the meaningful wisdom that can help their material life improve. Just the quality of the material, right? Their bahu shakti. So the intelligence that is trying to enjoy the objects in this world, there's so many enjoyable objects. So then when you want to enjoy an object, your intelligence will think how to enjoy. But oh look, there's 5 other ones. And then it's, how to enjoy that, how to enjoy that. So it becomes plain. So Nana Rupatmano Buddhi, the Buddhi that is taking on the different forms is Swarini Iva. It is like a Swarini, like a woman. It is really like a prostitute. So the prostitute, she dresses in an attractive way to take the money. Right? That is how it goes. Nowadays, people will find this to be offensive, but before, even in my time when I was a kid, that was, that was work. Prostitution is like, first of all, not only is it real work, but it's one of the only types of work that is recession proof. Recession proof. When the country is going through an economic collapse, then this work will be fine. It will not be disturbed. So there are only few businesses that are like that. Prostitution, maybe selling of the alcohol and drugs. They don't ever worry about any economic collapse. It will be fine. So the prostitutes, they dress in an attractive way to steal the money. So the intelligence is also creating attractive, images in the mind. And so those attractive images are like the different forms it's taking. It's like the verse I always have to quote from Prahlad Stuti. Oh my God, what's the one I like to quote all the time? Oh my God, Shruti. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the verse. Come on, I always quote this verse. I could look it up. Prahlad Maharaj said, Shruti Sukha Mrigatrishni Rupa. He says, where is happiness in this world? This is a good question. Where is the happiness in this world? Kutra Ashisha. Where is the happiness in this world? Good question. Then he says, Shruti Sukha, and hearing about it. Then when you hear about it, your mind starts creating the images. Oh, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a good time. The mind creating the images. And so, Migra Chishni Rupa, it is like the deer chasing a mirage of water in the desert. So when you see the mirage water in the desert, it is a promise of water, but you will never get the water. It is not there. So the images say you'll be happy, but that happiness never comes. What is actually coming is frustration, argumentation, divorce, murder, all sorts of other crazy things are coming. But the happiness is not coming. So the intelligence is creating all these images. So it's being compared like a prostitute. Creating all these gunavita, and it's endowed with many gunas. Gunavita means endowed with the qualities, such as beauty and virtue. When you imagine everything, it's like very wonderful, right? Gunavita, endowed with the good quality. So you say, yes, we shall pursue this. We'll pursue this. This is very good. This is very good. I'll enjoy it this way. So tan nishtam agatasyeha. In this world, if one is not able to obtain tan nishtam, so this word tat nishtam basically means the ability to discern what is actually of value. Right? Because the intelligence is just creating all these images and you just pursue. You never even think, is this a mirage? I've told this story when I was at Burning Man 2008 as a devotee. We were doing prashadam distribution. It was the first year we went to do the prashad distribution. So it's in the middle of the Nevada desert. So one time I saw water in the distance. I started walking toward it. It was very clear. It's like water. It's like a little lake was there. And I also thought I saw other people walking toward it. So I was walking for 20 minutes. It wasn't getting any closer. So I was like, why am I getting closer? Then I like looked again on my side and I was like, are there people? Then I became confused. Then I realized, oh, this is a mirage. I actually saw the mirage. I had to question it in order to stop walking toward it, right? But here you are trying to enjoy the material world. None of us ever question it. We never question our paradigm at all. We just go. So tan nishna agataseha, for one in this world who has not attained discernment, then what is the use of your what is the use of your vanity karma? You've never questioned this thing. In order for there to be discernment, there has to be fundamentally a question. Some question that drives you to think deeper about what's going on. But no, you are not thinking. Whatever form the intelligence is taking, you're just following her. Yeah, let me go and enjoy. So what is the use of it? So here he wants to say the opposite. You should discern what is actually of inherent and everlasting value and what is not. And then you should pursue the everlasting. If you don't do that, then what is the use of all your asat karma? Understand? I'm going to do one more of the riddle. So this is the fifth one. He mentioned the husband of the woman, the husband of the prostitute or unchaste lady. So who is that husband of the unchaste lady? That is the jiva. The jiva who's following after those images. He is the husband of the unchaste lady. Tasanga Brahmshi Taishwaryam Samsaratam Kuparyaya. Samsarantam. The jiva is Samsarantam. He's the one who is rotating in samsara. So Kurbharyavat, he is like the man with the unchaste lady. So Tat Sangha, by her Sangha, by the Sangha of that unchaste lady, Brahmshi Taishwaram, what Brahmshita, what is taken away from him is his Aishwarya, his potency, his opulence is stolen away. Just like the prostitution is stealing the money of one devotee at the Bhakti Center years ago, she was telling me, she came from a well-to-do family, but then the family almost lost all the money, had to go bankrupt because her father has spent large portion of the money on prostitutes. And later on it came out, of course it might have been divorce of the family, but she was telling that they lost so much of their assets because their father had spent a lot of money on the prostitutes over many years. I was like, dang, for real? And she was like, we came like a very well-to-do family, but lost everything because spent it on the prostitutes. So Brahmshita Aishwaryam, losing all the Aishwarya, because of association with that unchaste lady. So the jivas, I like Prabhupada's statement here, his word-to-word translation, Aishwaryam, he translates as the opulence of independence. I love that, the opulence of independence. You lose your sovereignty because you're associating with that unchaste lady. Whatever image she puts in front of you, you just pursue it. And so where's your sovereignty? Your ability to say, no, that's not the proper method. So this is what happens by her association. Tagater abudasya, for one in this world, iha, who is abudasya, he doesn't know. Tagati, what is his destination? This is a good question. You don't, because you're just following without the discrimination. You've lost your sovereignty, your Aishwaryam is lost. And so you don't know where they're taking you. Just like sometimes you see in the movies when they want to like capture some political guy or something. So they send some beautiful girl there, Prabhupada talks about this in the fourth canto also. I forget what they were called, the poison girls. Remember there was these girls, I forget the name. They were trained from youth to inject tiny bits of poison into their body. So by the time they were older, just by the kiss, they can give death. So then they would be sent to politicians, some politician causing some problem. They will send some beautiful girl, because this guy can't control his senses. So they send some beautiful girl, and then she would kiss him, he would die. So this was apparently a real thing. Prabhupada talks about it. You've seen some movie themes like this. So then sometimes, the politician, you want to take him down, you send some beautiful girls there. This guy can't control his senses. So she wants to take him down. She's like, playing some games with him, some foreplay is there. So she wraps up the eyes and come with me, come like this, playing with him. Then she takes him to his doom. So in the same way, in her association, our intelligence, we're just following the images without thinking, what is the destination? So he said, Tagater abudasya, for one in this world who does not know what is his destination. Simply he's following that prostitute here and there, but he doesn't know where he's going. What is the implication if you follow this path to its end? So that question never comes in the mind of the person. So Kama Sat Karma, what is the use of his vanity karma? He doesn't know what is his destination. Is he going to heaven? Is he going to hell? Is he going to ruin his life? Also, he doesn't know. Simply following. So this husband having the unchaste wife is a jiva, who's following the images inside. Kama Sat Karma bear with that. What is the use of such vanity karma? Okay, we'll pause here. We'll try to finish the riddle tomorrow. I had hoped to finish the whole thing today. But I always like these verses. I just thought they were like kind of cool and practical. Okie let's see if there's, Tamir says, I heard about a devotee doing one-on-one underground preaching. It seems that has a shastric basis of Narada's example. Not only Narada's example, so many examples. Shukadeva Goswami is speaking largely to Parikshit Maharaj, and the other sages are just getting the benefit of that conversation. Same with Sudha Goswami. And Gaur Leela, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Venkata Bhatta. So many examples are there. Preaching happening largely one-on-one. Because if you have to change someone's heart, it's hard work, it's not easy work. And every individual is so unique set of circumstances, unique mind. So yeah, one-on-one preaching, that is for a full impact. Unless you're like Mahaprabhu, you can also give the hug and then the Prema Bhakti comes. So if you have that ability, that is also very good. Otherwise, if you want full impact, you usually need one-to-one. That's for full impact preaching. You know, you can make some impact depending on how powerful you are with a group also. But if you want full impact, one-on-one is best. Private message, the GBC had not passed female Diksha Guru resolution that time. Otherwise, Narada would have preached Daksha's daughters. So this is intended as a joke. Because I mentioned that Daksha had many daughters, but the preaching didn't happen with them. Sham Gopi says, recession proof, laughing out loud. That's a fact. Prostitution is recession proof. In India, when government was about to announce COVID lockdown, longest lines were in front of liquor shop instead of stocking essential things like food and other goods. Liquor was the most stocked item, right? That's what I'm saying. Alcohol and prostitution, these are recession proof, businesses. Nothing will happen to them. Okay. Mother God wants to say something.
Yes, I was just wanting to know, because you say that it's the intelligence that makes our potential sense gratification look attractive, So in there, what is the role of the mind?
What is the role of the mind? It's the same. Usually the role of the mind is supposed to be accepting and rejecting without discernment. And the Buddhist is the faculty of discernment. The faculty of discernment is supposed to be the buddhi. But if the buddhi comes under the control of the mind, then it also doesn't discern. It doesn't do much of discernment. It just says, it does discernment, but the discernment will be how to get the object. But it will not discern if the object is good for me or not. Under the influence of the mind is too powerful. It's under the influence of the mind. So the mind doesn't do any discernment. It just, because of the impressions of desire and hate, it will just say yes or no immediately, almost like intuitively, yes or no. Now the buddhi is supposed to function that, well, is this good for us? But if it's under the influence of the mind, it will only do the discernment how to get the object. It will not do the discernment, is the object good for us? I think here the use of the word buddhi here just means it's a generic term just to refer to the psychic body itself. Because in classical Sankhya, the buddhi is the lens through which the consciousness is contacting matter. So the buddhi takes on different shapes, and the consciousness is looking first at that lens, and that lens is taking on different shapes according to the other elements that are like the mind and the senses and so on. So, but consciousness is just looking at that one lens, and it takes on a particular shape, and then consciousness is following that. So the word buddhi here is, I think, meant in a more generic sense, just to refer to the psychic body itself, the lens through which consciousness is contacting matter and absorbed in it.
So I don't know, so is it the psychic body or that lens that makes that, I don't know, makes something, let's say I see a pretty looking drink in the refrigerator, right? Some red looking drink in the refrigerator. Yeah. So the role of the intelligence is to entice the jiva to think how good that will.
It is unconscious, so it's not enticing in that sense. It's not like I wanna fool the soul. It's an unconscious element. It's just taking on a particular shape. And the jiva is preoccupied with those shapes of the psychic body or the subtle body. And so he's pursuing accordingly. If you know, when you talk about the distinct functions of the subtle body in relationship to something, you see the pretty drink envy. So the senses see the drink. The mind says yes. The intelligence says how we're going to get it. Now, if the intelligence is, if there's more sattva in the intelligence, is not covered over by the dust of rajas, then the intelligence will also say, is this drink good for us? But if there's too much rajas in the psyche and the intelligence, then the intelligence will say, okay, how are we going to get it? On that, we have to purchase it. It costs us much money and grab it. So the intelligence will like that.
Yeah. So that description I understand, but how in that description that you just gave, where does this concept of making the sense object look promising and inviting coming?
It just means so Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Kutrashi Sashruti Sukha Megrachishri. So he says, where is happiness in this world? It's in hearing about it. Shruti Sukha. The party is going to be great. So that's where all the happiness is in that. And then what happens is you hear, and then the psychic world starts creating the images that makes it makes it very compelling. So the happiness is in those images or the mental speculation. Right? So when you imagine how something is going to be, it is always very wonderful. I mean, it could go the opposite way also, but in the example, the party is going to be great. That's what you heard. So then the mind will create the images of how great it's going to be. Who's going to be there?
Okay, see, now you just said the mind will do that.
I'm using the mind in the generic sense.
Okay.
I'm using the mind because the word mind is used both to refer to the manas sometimes and then refer to the whole psychic thing together. And the reason the mind is used sometimes to refer to the whole psychic thing together is because mind is prominent in the functions of the mind. So sometimes, even when referring to the whole thing together, you just call it as mind also. You just may call it as chitta. You can call it as antakarna. Sankhya Bhagavatam also refers to as antakarna, the inner instrument. But sometimes they just call it mind also, because mind is very prominent in the whole process. Why is it very prominent? Because of the imprints of I like, I don't like. I like, I don't like. That's very prominent. They have these huge divisions of, psychotherapy and psychology. The whole thing can be summed down to I like, I don't like. And then the complications we go through is trying to pursue or avoid that. So I'm using the mind here in the generic sense. So the mind together is creating the images, right? In the creation of the images, you see yourself in relationship to a certain image. That is the ego function. What is your role in the image, right? That is the ego function. Your intelligence is also doing some work. How you're going to enjoy what we're going to do. The mind is just saying yes, 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 yes.
But who comes up with the imaginations of exactly, it hasn't happened yet, but you're imagining how exactly I'm going to enjoy this thing, like this vacation in Hawaii. I'm imagining that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So who comes up, which part of the...
No, so that is the swabhava. Or you could say the chitta. The chitta is a repository of unlimited experiences in this world. They're all kept inside the chitta. Like software. Just like now, you're on your computer, right? Or whatever. And there's only one image is up, the Zoom. But there's so many things in my computer, there's so many things, so many books, so many pictures, but right now, only the Zoom thing is brought up. So the psychic is like that. There's so many things there. Carl Jung used the word like the unconscious or the subconscious he refers to. There's so much content is there. But right now, only one thing is up in the front of your psyche. Let's say the sound of my voice is class, but there's so much content underneath. So when you hear a phrase like the party is going to great, you have literally unlimited content to draw from to create the imagery from past life and present life experiences. So from the chitta you hear the sound, the party is going to be great. And then what will emerge out of the chitta are all these past life experiences. And then, you're co-creative. You put the images together. You have this nice little image. Yay, we're going to enjoy. So you have, all of us, we have literally unlimited content to draw from. We're just largely unaware of it for the most part of our waking consciousness. Well, unlimited content is there.
And so when I imagine all the great things I'll be doing on my Hawaii vacation, right? I draw from that chitta,
Yeah.
and then enter the intelligence. And then what does the intelligence say in that scenario?
In the scenario, the intelligence will say, we'll go here because we're going to have fun at that place. We'll go to the other place. We'll do this. We'll do that. It won't ask the question, is going to Hawaii good for us? If there's
because it's under the influence of the mind.
Yes, mind or rajas is there. Rajas is too much. So the intelligence will say, first we'll go here, then we'll go to the other place, then we'll go to the other place. And that question, is this place at all good for us, will not come up. So that's in the part of the imagination part. Then when you actually go to Hawaii, then you'll encounter so many obstacles. Then the intelligence will function differently that time.
Okay, so the chitta, it presents all the different ideas about what would be a good time, and then the intelligence says, it'll do the plan of action, how we will go to these different things.
Yes.
Okay, and the mind just says, yeah, I like that idea, I don't like that idea. So,
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else anyone wants to say? Yeah, why did Narada Muni preach to Haryashvas? By giving a riddle.
No, but why not to make them become
renounced?
Because they were in a pilgrimage.
You're saying, so the question is coming, why did Narada Muni speak to them in a riddle?
But for them to become renounced.
Why did he speak to them in a riddle? The question is, why did he want them to be? Why did he preach to them, and why did he become renounced?
And not to perform their duty.
And not to perform, because so we mentioned that already.
Yeah, but we didn't understand that.
So there in the beginning of the narration, Shukadeva Goswami said they went to the holy place. So we described this word numen, right? By the numen of the place, their psyches became attracted to Paramahamsa Dharma. The Paramahamsa Dharma is the renunciation. So that's why we mentioned in the beginning of the class that holy places have a numen to them. So if you go in that place and you contact the numen of the place, your whole psyche can get shifted. So you go to Braj and all of a sudden you become inclined towards Krishna Bhakti because of the numen of the place. So they were in this place of renunciates and sages and so on. So by the numen of the place, their minds became attracted to Paramahamsa Dharma. But they were like, anyway, we come here because our father asked us to do this thing. So we'll do that. So Narada Muni, I would say Narada Muni can see they had inclination towards Paramahamsa Dharma. They had ability also. So he preached to them in a way that they will embrace that Dharma. Follow your bliss, even though it's going to mean pissing off your father. Oh, you should embrace your destiny. It's there's a nice statement I was reading with a friend that it's very hard. So you want to avoid thinking yourself better than others. At the same time, you don't want to be beneath your fate. So when it comes to taking decisions in spiritual life, it often can strike people as arrogance. You think you're better than us because I remember when I just became a vegetarian, it's like, oh, you think you're better than us because you're vegetarian? So no, you don't want to think that you're better than others. At the same time, you don't want to be beneath your fate. So their fate was actually this renunciation. That's what they were attracted to. That's they have qualifications for that. But then they were going to act beneath their fate to satisfy their father. So now everybody preaches that no, follow your bliss, embrace your fate.
What's the use of that asatdharma?
Yeah, what is the use of this asatdharma? And then they're like, yeah. Okay, so we'll pause for now. We'll finish the riddle tomorrow. Nice little section. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thanks a lot. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. Go Nandi. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama.